stood up for them, right? That was the nice manners, that's what you're accustomed to. I like how you're all sitting nice and polite there. Thank you, boys. All right. Now, what room do you think we're in?
The living room.
The living room. Do you think Mrs. Stephenson had a little fancier name for it? She called it her parlor. I would imagine that was more common. But it's like a living room or a family room. This would be where they would greet their guests. They had a lot of important company come to the house, right? But it's also where the family would do things, right? Colonel Benjamin would do some work. They have their music in here. The kids were what we would call homeschool, so they might do their work in here. The ladies would sew, play games. Yes, sir?
Does that piano still work?
This is, yeah, that's a piano forte. And it sounds like a piano if you have your foot down on the pedal. It's the keys are, they strike a little bit differently, but this one has been restored and was a gift to us. Okay. So this is their parlor. Now, the house itself, this is a nice southern, it's a federal style home. It means it's got a lot of symmetry to it, right? Nice brick structure. And this was a pretty fancy house for Edwardsville in 1820. Okay? It had 4 rooms plus a kitchen. It had a parlor and a dining room that didn't have to be somebody's bedroom later in the day. A lot of homes in Edwardsville had 2 rooms or 1 room, and you did everything in those rooms. So you might have your kitchen, dining room, living room, and then a bedroom. Everybody's was different.
Was this town still called Edwardsville?
It was called Edwardsville. Now, do you know where the town part was? This was out a ways. Do you guys know where Old Lincoln School is, or the Manny Jackson Center is what it's called now? Okay. And then across the street from it is that restaurant that's been closed forever and ever called Rusty's.
Yeah.
That big building. Okay. So, where the Old Lincoln School or the Manny Jackson Center is, that's where the jail was. That's where government was. Across the street from that is where Colonel Benjamin's office was. There's a wall inside that old restaurant. That was the wall of Colonel Benjamin's office in the land office. Okay? So the land office, and he was the receiver of monies. So anybody who wanted land in Illinois territory and the state had to go through a land office to claim their land, to get it recorded. The one in Edwardsville here, at one time, was the busiest one in the country. Okay? So people had to come through there and sign up for the land they wanted, get it marked official, and then pay the money. So he had a really important job. And so town was from there, and it went down towards where North Side Dairy is. Okay? And that area on North Side that floods a lot, that was Coquille Creek, or it is still called Coquille Creek, but that was a big trade waterway to get things to Edwardsville. Okay? So this was their big farm outside of town. And it went from what we would call a few blocks that way to Schwartz, to the water tower, a little beyond that, and then it went all the way down to where Woodland School is, you know, where that is, right? And beyond that. Okay?
He had a huge farm.
Yeah, it was a long, narrow track farm. But think about all the different things that are in between there. There's hills, right? It's not just a flat farm that you would put fields in. Okay, so it was wooded, it was prairie. Up closer to the house, they had their farm, their gardens, right? So enough to feed the Stephensons, the servants, the animals. They wanted to be as self-sufficient as possible. Yes? Mm-hmm. All right. So the Stephenson family, real quick. Colonel Benjamin, his wife Lucy, or Mrs. Stephenson. Sometimes we call her Miss Lucy. That was her, what people called her later in life. And they had 4 kids. They had Julia, James, Elvira, and Ben B. Okay. Julia was already married by the time they moved into the house, and she lived that direction a little ways. Okay? But the other 3 kids moved in here with them. And somebody, those pictures up there, that is a picture of James, portrait of James when he was older and Mrs. Stephenson when she was older. And that one up there is Colonel Benjamin. And what we know he looked like is off of this painting. This is a copy that the Smithsonian helped us get. It's a miniature on ivory, so a little portrait painted on ivory, right? And a St. Louis artist made him look older, like he might look when the house was built. Okay? So people would have these little miniatures done, and it was really popular. And a lot of times it would be about the time you got married. Okay? So the groom would have one painted and give it to his bride. We don't know if Mrs. Stephenson had one or if it got lost at some point or broken. We don't know. We never have found it. But this one had always had the right name on it so people knew who it was. And it's in the Smithsonian in their miniature gallery. They have drawers and drawers of these that are marked. So there's a Stephenson County Courthouse in Illinois up by Galena named after Colonel Benjamin, and that's the portrait they use there. That's the one that we use because it's the only portrait that we know for sure is him. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Colonel Benjamin is.
The guy who built the house.
Okay.
Yeah. This was his house. All right. And he had some other jobs besides just the land office, and we'll tell you about those in a little bit. Okay, so I want you to look at this fireplace. I said it was a fancy house, right? I want you to look at this fireplace mantle. It has lots of different little levels and things in it. Pretty fancy. The person that made this for them did a lot of the woodwork and trim, all 4 mantles. And we have all 4 of the original ones. These weren't made later to look like the ones that were here. His name was Daniel Tolman, 19 years old. He had already done his apprenticeship. He'd already learned his trade and came to Edwardsville. He was answering some ads in the newspaper for trained people, trained craftsmen to come out to this new frontier, you know, this unknown area. And he set up shop to be a carpenter, right? And anybody surprised by the color of it? This is a color called Prussian blue, very popular. If you go to Thomas Jefferson's house, George Washington's home, things like that, they might have whole rooms painted this color. It was a popular color, and from what I understand, it was a little more expensive to paint things that color. So it was kind of a status symbol, right? Anything else in this room? Yeah.
Is the couch original?
That is a reproduction. Okay. So in the house we have antiques, or sometimes we call those period correct, meaning they're from the 1820s or older. We have some things that are reproductions, meaning they were made to look old. So these chairs that the boys are sitting on, those are Windsor chairs. We know that the Stephensons had dark Windsor chairs. So when we opened the house as a museum, we have found a craftsman in Missouri who makes them the old way, using the old tools and everything, and he made those for us to put in the house. Okay? So the piano is really, the pianoforte is really from, it's period correct, it's an antique. Okay? This is much older than 1820. Mm-hmm.
Is the fireplace real?
Oh, we built fires in it. We use it a lot. Mm-hmm.
Is the wall, so the wallpaper, is that the original wallpaper?
It's not the original wallpaper, but it is wallpaper that they could have, it's a reproduction of one that was made, and you could order things from catalogs or in stores. Okay? Mm-hmm.
I have 2 things. What are those cups on top of the?
This,
Yeah.
that's like a vase.
For flowers.
You can put flowers in it, just a decorative.
What is this?
They're just little cordial glass, yeah, like little tiny wine glasses. Okay, so we know what was in the house after Colonel Benjamin died, because people owed him, he owed people money, he had debt and people owed him money. Probably those people that owed him money didn't all pay up. So Mrs. Stephenson had to have an auction and sell a lot of stuff to help pay the debt that her husband left behind. Okay, so she sold some farm animals, some equipment, and then she sold a lot of her extra stuff. Okay, and so we have all those records. So when we decided to make the house into the museum and we wanted to show you how they lived, we had really good records of how many dark Windsor chairs they had and what style of furniture they had and what type of wood it was made out of. So we didn't just say, well, we need 4 tables that look old. We had really specific things to try to make this house look as much like their house as we could. Right? Now I want you to look at the carpet real quick, feel it. Made out of wool. Okay? So think about, we don't have any electricity, right? So we use our candles and fireplaces a lot. And you know how fires sometimes spark and pop? Well, if that lands on the carpet, or if the top of your candle falls off and fell onto your carpet, if it was cotton or something like that, it might make a lot of flame. It would be a fire hazard, really. This wool, it's not going to burn like that. Okay? It'll singe, but the flame part will die out. So it's a little safer to use. That's why it was popular. And it's very durable. You just sweep it with a broom. Okay? So this inventory said that she had 2 ingrain floor coverings. That's what this is. Okay? But look at how wide it is. There's a seam here, one here, one here. Right? Why do you think the seams are, why do you think the runs of carpet are only this wide?
Because they like sewed, like most of the time they sewed it, like the factory sewed it by hand sort of, like they had to operate machines.
Right. This is how wide the loom was, right? So if you bought it from a different family and their business, it might be this wide because they had a little bit bigger loom or a little bit smaller loom. This was before the more,
This is before the Industrial Revolution.
very good, before the
Yeah.
Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of the
Before
word I
Industrial
wanted.
Revolution.
So more handcrafted, small batch, more custom work, not everything came the same. So when they made the carpet for us to put in this house, right, they used the old time looms and old time processes. It came to us in rolls and they rolled it out, cut it to fit the room, and then hand sewed each one of these seams to fit in this room.
Now they just roll it out.
Because they make it in huge rolls now, right? Okay. Why don't we go look at a new room? Any other questions in here? All right, let's go see another one. Yes, ma'am. No, it's a reproduction. All right, girls, let's not trip on your long dresses.
Some filming, marketing type things.
So, in here, I wanted you to see, this is, that room what we were first in, that's their public room, right? The family did stuff there, but if they had company and things, that would be their public room. This was a more private room for Colonel Benjamin and Mrs. Stephenson. So in here, I wanted to show you, we have in the corner, that's their wash stand. And so they had to wash up every day, right? And then we have some things there for Colonel Benjamin to shave with. And our fireplace over here, not quite as fancy, but still it looks a lot like the one downstairs.
Yeah, it looks the exact same.
It's a little bit different, but it looks very similar. I wanted to show you. I didn't know if you guys had ever seen a writing desk. So this, I can fold up and lock. Alright. Stephenson might have one here so she could keep her correspondence, her letters and things. But then if she wanted to take it downstairs and work downstairs, she could do that easily. Or if they were traveling, or if she wanted to work outside. And then Colonel Benjamin probably had one too, that he traveled. And there's places for storage on both sides, even under here. Take that. And there's a place for your inkwell to fit.
It's pretty cool.
You can keep your quills in there. You might have a little knife in there to sharpen your quill. And that way you can have all your stuff with you. I said Colonel Benjamin had different jobs over his life, right? When they first moved to Illinois, to set up Illinois Territory, they lived in Kaskaskia. What's important about Kaskaskia? Where was the first capital of Illinois? Kaskaskia, yeah. So he was a sheriff down there. Up here, he worked in that land office. He also helped write the Constitution for Illinois when it came to state. He worked in state government and federal, national government. He worked in Washington City. What's Washington City called now?
DC.
Washington DC. He had a mercantile. What's a mercantile, you know? It was here in town. It's a store. And at one time, he was even the president of the Bank of Edwardsville.
Oh, I did.
Okay. And so this is a copy of one side of the money from the Bank of Edwardsville. This is before national banking system. So everybody's money looked different. If everybody's money looked different, can you see one big problem?
You can have fake money.
Very good. There was a lot of counterfeit money. The other reason I wanted you guys to look at that is you can see there's a signature down here. That's Colonel Benjamin's signature. It's a museum copy, so it's, somebody has actual bills and they helped us get copies so we could show you guys. Okay? So, that version of the Bank of Edwardsville, went out of business. One reason, because of counterfeit money. And there were, recession and a lot of different things. So that part of the bank folded, but it came back with that same name later. Those are $2 bills. Yeah. Somebody asked me if there were real letters under here. There, we do have some real letters that the Stephensons wrote. This is, Mrs. Stephenson wrote this letter to her friend Patty. Now, we don't want to leave the 200-year-old one sitting out, right? So one of the people here who knows how to write really well with a quill, she copied it so we could see what it said. But it's Mrs. Stephenson writing to her friend Patty, telling her about what's going on in town in a wedding of people that they both know. Okay, all right, anything else in here? Let me quiz you guys real quick. What's this?
They cut holes in it and then put it under their sheets so that
It's a bed warmer. Okay, so it heats up really nice and fast, and then you rub that on the sheets to warm them up. And then your servant might even come in the morning, if it was really cold out, and put it under there to warm up your feet before you got on the bed. Okay, yes, one more question?
Is that like a yoga for, like he was a colonel, or is that a remodel?
That is a
Reproduction.
That is a reproduction, yes. All right, yeah.
This is the myth that
Yeah.
is true.
That means it's not true.
It's not true.
But the thing about beds being short because people sat up, if you had a cold or something, you might sit up sleeping. Remember we said this is before the Industrial Revolution? Everybody's bed was custom made. So not all beds were the same size like they are now. So you made the bed and then you made the mattress to fit it. Right? You didn't go out and buy just a queen size mattress. The mattress you made to fit the bed. So some were longer, some were shorter, some were fancy, some weren't. It was what you had, how much you could pay.
Are those slippers?
Those are men's shoes, like you to wear around the house and things.
So you used to sleep like you're sitting?
No,
Like what did they mean with
that's myth. Myth is something that's not true.
Buster?
All right,
Most people have
Yes,
said
sir.
it's true, but it's not.
let's walk over here and we'll see the other room. Sarah, what's your question?
And having this picture.
But it's an example. Good example for it. Now this is the children's bedroom.
Oh,
Okay.
that's better.
No, those things are getting older at all.
So this is the children's bedroom. And in here, the inventory said that we had a tall poster bed and a short poster bed and a trundle. Do you guys know what a trundle bed is? That pulls out underneath, right? So they might have used it every day, might have only used it once in a while. But it's an extra bed, okay? And in this room, we have a washstand over there, okay? Because you still had to wash up, you didn't have to take a bath every day. And somebody's pointing, what is that thing, Drew?
The bath.
That's the bathtub, okay? Now, you didn't have to take a bath every day. You didn't,
But you wouldn't take one every year, once a year.
you'd take it more than that, probably. So you kind of just stand and squat in that one and then pour the water over you. It's pretty quick. It's pretty quick. Yeah. Now, let's think about the taking a bath like this, using this bathtub. Where is our main source of water here, do you think, on the farm? There's a well down in that courtyard where we first
You
met
have
up.
to walk to the well in the back?
And do you want to take a hot bath or a cold bath? You know, hot water, cold water.
Hot water.
Okay,
See,
when water comes out of the well, it's cold.
See if you
So you'd
heat it
have to
up.
heat it up someplace. And the biggest fireplace is in the kitchen, also down by the well.
Oh,
Asian Jack
Do you
Turner.
think-
but you also have the
Do
heating
you
thing.
think Mrs. Stevenson is gonna let the servants carry hot water up her fancy front steps? You'll see the other steps pretty soon, okay? The bathtub for most families probably was closer to the kitchen, right? And when you needed it, you'd pull it out maybe from the barn, or if it was hanging up high, you'd pull it down, and probably take it bath there. If somebody was sick, if they had company, if it was a special occasion, maybe they would bring it up here, okay? So that takes care of one thing. And then we have outhouses, right? We call them the privy. Those are outside. And then what happens if you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night? Right. Do you think that your mom is gonna think it's okay for you, the kids, to light the candle and wander around outside? No lights, snow, ice, wild animal, no. We have chamber pots,
Pictures in this one.
chamber pots, okay?
Well, I remember I had the Abraham Lincoln's.
Pull that out. Now, our lid is broken, but it has a lid that you would normally use. So if somebody has to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, right? Or if they're sick and can't get out of bed, you go in there, you put the lid back on, and then you push it back underneath a piece of furniture so nobody trips on it. And so
Yeah, that would
nobody
be
notices.
bad.
And the next day, every day, it's somebody's job to check them all. And clean them out. Okay? Yes?
What's in there?
So, we're gonna go there next. The room where you did archaeology, that was where the kitchen was. And up above the kitchen was like an attic space, half story. This door is so short, not because it's the door the servants used or the kids used. It's because that's the only size that would fit there, because the roof came down like that. So that's how, it was the door to the attic or the servants' quarters, and that's the only size that would fit. Okay? Real quick, I want to show you this. You guys know what a sampler is? That's when you're learning to sew and do needle point and things like that, and you're learning your stitches. As you learn, you make samplers, and that's to show your work. This is a sampler that a 10-year-old made. It happens to be somebody who's related to Mrs. Stephenson. But at 10 years old, you guys already know how to do all this? You would if you lived here in 1820.
And you were a girl.
Oh, but the boys had to learn how to sew too.
Didn't they always made samplers too? I didn't know that.
Yes, ma'am.
My sister might learn how to sew a page.
That's very good. Come on, let's go.